That is our friends from Facebook telling us that we are live now on Facebook. So for those of you here in the room, we'll be able to connect directly here with our colleagues and students on campus. And then those joining on Facebook will be able to do the same, and we'll be able to hear as well. So Tom and I are very, very technologically advanced individuals, as you can tell. So let's hope we don't screw this up. All right. So actually, we did a brief introduction a little bit earlier of Dr. Drumelsmith as a Canadian faculty member. So you've had a slight, a short introduction, and so what I'd like to ask you to do, as well as our two students, I'd like you each to sort of introduce yourselves here to the audience, both in the room and on Facebook. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what brought you to Ross, and that's applicable to all three of you, and certainly for the students, what made you decide to apply to Ross, and sort of maybe your pathway through. I mean, the folks you're speaking to here in the room, are sort of in the same position you were not too long ago. So maybe Dr. Drumelsmith, maybe you can lead the way, and then our students can introduce themselves as well.
Sure. So hi, I'm Dr. Drumelsmith. I was born in Scarborough, so I'm a Southern Ontario girl. Grew up in Oshawa, went to University of Guelph, took microbiology and biochem, did my PhD there. Then I went and did a postdoc at Laval in Quebec City, and I was there for 8 years, started my research lab there as faculty there, and then 9 years ago moved to Ross University in Dominica. Why? It's really cold in Quebec. I don't know. That was part of it, but also I wanted to teach. That's why I'd done my PhD in the first place, and I get to do that here. So that's me.
Great, thank you, Dr. Drumelsmith. Martina?
Hi, my name is Martina Tripkovich. I am currently a second semester here. So basically a little bit about myself. I grew up in Montreal. I did high school in Montreal, but my path is a little different. So I went to New Jersey for college, it was for a scholarship. And then after that, I applied back in Montreal. But since I did college in the States, it was a little complicated coming back. They consider me an international applicant. And so I was a little restricted and stuff. So then that's when I had some friends that were at SGU, and they told me about the Caribbean School. So when I started looking it up, I kind of compared SGU and Ross. And for Ross, what I liked about it is the organ system based curriculum that I really liked. And so that's when I applied. Everything kind of went really smoothly and fast. I got my answers pretty quickly, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm not waiting. This is what I want to do. So I accepted, and here I am, basically.
All right. So my name's Natalie. I'm a fourth semester student, and I actually grew up in Houston, and I went to UT Austin where I got my degree. After that, I started working in the healthcare field for about 3 years. I was at American Cancer Society, and I actually applied to Ross after a coworker had, actually originally gone to a Caribbean school. And I did apply. I think it was my second time applying to American schools, and I still hadn't heard back. But I actually went to an information session for Ross after hearing more about it online, and I just like the organ-based systems similar to Martina. I like that you can actually work in the community. You got to start your clinical skills from first semester. So and also I actually started in May, so I felt like I got to start right away. So after that, so now I'm here. Now it's my last semester on the island, so.
So you each attended one of these information sessions where we are such as the one we are broadcasting from right now. Excellent. So for those of you who have joined us on Facebook, via Facebook Live, we are actually here in the room in Toronto, and we are linking to our campus in Dominica, and we have a full room of interested prospective students here in the room with us in Toronto who are actually in the midst of attending one of the information seminars that our two students are talking about. So, and each of you mentioned that this is the type of environment you were able to get your questions answered, and look at you now, there you are in Dominica. So excellent. So can you talk a little bit about, because you're in Dominica, and can you talk a little bit about moving from Canada transitioning, down to the island, and just for that, we spent a little bit of time here in the room talking about that, how it's a little bit different of an environment, to say the least. And can you talk about your transition and how you found it living there on campus or near the campus?
Okay. I guess this one's for me, since I'm from Canada. So I'm not gonna lie, when you come here, it's very different than what you're used to. This is not like your first world country where you'll find anything like you just walk 2 minutes, you find out the corner store or whatever, for sure. But it's different. But I feel like Ross really put so much effort into making us really comfortable with everything. So you really have anything you need to. It's not like you're lacking anything here. I know a lot of people, like, there's also, like, you can also bring barrels, stuff like that. Like, family can always send you stuff if you need. The one thing is that I brought my own, if you use, like, for example, like a specific shampoo or a specific something, bring it from home. That's what I did. But other than that, I think to me it was very smooth as a transition. I didn't have like a hard time. Plus, I was used to being away from home, I guess, so that might have helped me a little bit more. But the one thing I have to say is there's people that did it before me. People are going to do it after me. I'm doing it. Like, you're all able to do it. It's not something crazy. It's an adjustment, but it's not bad.
Natalie?
For me, I would say the same thing. I had never even had a passport before I came here, so I had never even lived in another country. So it was definitely a transition. You're not used to, the different things on the island, but I think you just find the joy in the different things that they do have here, the different restaurants that they have here. Like, you get the fresh fish and stuff here. You get to go to the market and get some of the vegetables. And you do actually, I like to bring stuff from home, even having just a small little something, whether it's a tea that I like or a different brand of cereal or something. Those little things really do mean a lot. So in a way, I don't really feel like I'm missing out much, because it's definitely not like back home. But the transition, the school really does make it easier here. So you don't feel like you're completely, in a different environment. So not too bad.
One of the things we've talked about with our live audience here in Toronto is we've gone into detail on the academic program. So can you comment at all on what it was like transitioning into the MD program, and how did you find the academic program just in general? Anything about classes, support, those types of things? I mean, how have you been able to be successful? Natalie, 4 semesters, Martina, you're in your second semester. So why have you been able to be successful in this program?
Well, for me, I feel like they just offer different ways for you to learn. There are students that like to go to class, and then there are students that like to watch it. For me, first semester, I definitely went to class a lot, but now that I've gone through that, I actually kind of incorporate both. So now I media site, I can replay lectures, I can pause things whenever the professors have, notes. I also like that they have interactive sessions, so they actually have quizzes for you to make sure that you're understanding the material. I also participated in working with questions, which they had small groups that you can meet at the Student Center, and you can actually do questions with your classmates. You can talk about the questions, you can talk about why you got them wrong, you can hear from other students how they thought about the question, how they thought through it. And also, so those are like some of the main things that I've done. And also just with our CTL center, I've actually gone there a couple times because it was definitely kind of hard to learn how to study and what worked best for me, because it definitely was a big transition from undergrad, tackling all this information. So they were definitely supportive with helping me get a study schedule, learning how I learn, and setting an agenda. So I think all of those just kind of helped me for this semester. Yeah.
Well, I want to say she covered most of it, honestly. She's gone through it all. I've pretty much been doing the same. When I got here, I felt a little overwhelmed because it's different. You go to college and it's like, okay, you have this class, you take this exam. Have this class, you have to take this exam. Versus here, it's like you want to incorporate everything, right? It's medicine, so everything's kind of interconnected. And so that's one thing that I found hard, but I adjusted pretty quickly. I did the same. I went to CTL for advice. I've done working with questions. As for classes and stuff, I used to go to class first semester, and I just realized to me it was better to, because I'm an old school kind of girl, so I like books, I like paper notes, I like everything that's just, I'm not so much into this whole technology thing. So at first I was going to class, taking like notes on paper and everything, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should try media science. So I started media science. I still take paper notes. That works best for me, and I do my own mnemonics and drawings and all this stuff. That's how personally I learn.
And when you need help, can you comment on, and we can sort of transition into Dr. Drumblesmith's opinion here too. How have you found the accessibility to faculty? I mean, one of the things students often come to us with is, well, I'm really concerned that there's a number of students and the demands on faculty time, and are they really accessible? So can you comment on that, and maybe also Dr. Drumblesmith from your perspective?
Yes, I think
She has to say yes. Yeah.
Well, I remember I actually emailed you one time last semester, and you were very prompt at answering me back. I think every professor, I never feel intimidated to email professors. Their doors are always open. They always have office hours. They're always encouraging you to ask questions. So I feel like they've always been accessible. They've always, really do accept questions anytime you don't understand anything. So.
Yeah, I think from the faculty standpoint, we would much rather you ask a question when you have it, rather than wait till after the exam when you got it wrong and then coming in and talking about it. So most of our faculty are very, very, like, almost, we're soliciting students to come in sometimes, like, hey, I've noticed you're having some trouble with my area, please come see us. So yeah,
I feel like most, personally from what I've seen, a lot of teachers tell you, hey, for me it's open door policy. So you just like go knock, get in if they're there, and just like you don't necessarily have to take an appointment, make an appointment with them. So that's really nice because you can just go, hey, I had a quick question, just explain this to me. And I personally really like that instead of, okay, email, wait a couple of days till you have an answer. Okay, I'm gonna go like in 2 weeks. Oh, my exam was last week. Now it's like, okay, I email, I get an answer the day of, or if not, just walk in. So that's really helpful.
Okay. As we mentioned, those of us who are joined live on Facebook, so we are here in Toronto. I'm here in Toronto, and my colleagues at Ross University on campus in Dominica in the Caribbean are fortunate to have a bit of a live stream here. So we're actually going to take a question or two from here in the room in Toronto. So who has a question?
Oh, we have a question
right up front.
Front row.
Thank you so much. I'm just wondering how Ross prepared you, both of you, to prepare for the this MOE.
Yep. How are we? Can you comment at all on how you haven't taken it yet, obviously, either of you, but how are we preparing you for the USMLE? Can you comment at all on that?
That's me. Well, having gone through your first year of medical school, you're still learning, and after I had gone through third, and now I'm actually preparing for the comp. So I'm actually incorporating a lot of outside materials to supplement with, and I do actually find that when you're going through school and you're actually looking at all this information, do I need to learn this? Yes, you do need to learn this. I've gone through questions, and so pretty much everything that we've talked about during school, it's all been in practice questions. They're all in New World. They're all in RX. Like everything that we've learned, you think that you're not going to use it, but it actually is going to be on the test. And I do find that using even supplementing with first aid or pathoma, pretty much everything that we've been learning has been geared towards this step. So I personally feel like even if I didn't have those materials, is going based off of what I've been taught, I do feel like it's actually preparing me in the right way. So.
Another question coming up. Yes.
A quick question about how big class sizes are. Typically, like in first year, how big would they generally be?
We can certainly take that here to make it easy for you. Typically we're bringing in around 300 students new in an incoming class, in a September class, maybe a little bit higher. So that would be smaller in a January or May class, not being the traditional start date. So similar in size to your, and certainly not as big as the largest medical schools here in Canada and in the United States. And we're gonna wrap up here in the room, but just before I do that, I just want to follow up on that. 97% of our students are passing the comp, those who make it that far. So we just want to make sure that students are fully prepared to get there. And we don't want students to have to leave the program halfway through. So I mentioned earlier, we see about a 12% attrition number overall. Quite a bit of that happens in the first or second semester. So you usually figure out fairly quickly whether or not you're going to be able to handle the academic programs. We see very little attrition happening after those first few semesters. So it's a very good question. We're gonna move along. We have other questions. We're gonna have alumni up here as well later. So I have to ask you to save your questions for that. I apologize. I sort of teased you with a direct link to campus. So, but we're going to, for those of you who have joined us via Facebook Live, this is going to continue. So don't leave. For here in the room, we're actually going to leave the room. So let's have a round of applause for Dr. Drumblesmith and our two students. And you folks don't go anywhere either. So we're going to move ahead. Presentation here in the room. Thank you again.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
Still remember me? Hopefully.
I wasn't sure if you're actually talking to us or not.
No, I'm talking to you guys. Good seeing you again. So we're gonna continue the conversation here. So we've received a number of questions, and I can sort of just ask you guys as more questions come in. So the first question, and this is for both Martina and Gloria, why Ross University? And if you can just talk about why you decided to attend Ross as opposed to other schools.
Okay. Well, after I graduated in 2013, I had been working for about 3 years or so, and I had been applying multiple times. And it was around like 2015, around that fall time, that I was still, waiting to hear back from medical schools. And I did have my coworker that was going to a Caribbean school, so that did open my ideas to actually looking elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, I know that I'd wanted to be a doctor for the longest time, and I felt like no matter where I put my education, I knew that at the end of the day, I wanted to be a doctor. So looking at Ross, I looked at, that was one of the best Caribbean schools to go in the Caribbean. I talked to different people about the school. I heard nothing but great things about the residents. I heard several physicians. There's so many physicians over in America that I heard that actually went to Ross or knew somebody who went to Ross. So I knew that Ross had an established, history, by having students. So I felt like it was a reputable school to go to. And what got me here compared to other schools, I did like that they had an organ-based system. I liked that, I liked that they incorporated the clinical skills aspects of it, and I liked that they, for me, like going forward, I just knew that at the end of the day, I was going to become a doctor. And Ross is willing to give me that opportunity that other medical schools didn't. And I went for it, and I said, you know what, if I want to be a doctor, I'm just going to go for it, and I went for it, and I'm a doctor, and it's been going well for me. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll say it's a little bit of the same for me. So I did college in the States, so coming back was a little hard for me to get into the schools and kind of competitive as everyone knows. So it's been a little rough. But then I had a bunch of friends that went to SGU, and so I started looking. I'm not gonna lie, I started looking at SGU, but then I started looking also at other schools. And Ross had, like you said, the organ-based system, which I really, really liked. So that was one of the main things that made me decide to come to Ross. And there's one thing that my friend told me, no matter what medical school you'll go to, it's medicine. You're all learning the same thing. So in the end, it gets you to becoming a physician. It gets you doing what you want to do. So to me, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I know this is what I want to do. So that's also one of the reasons why I was like, okay, I'm going to Ross. I'm decided I want to be here. I want to do this. And when I really enjoy when I got here is my second day of school. I'm in the anatomy lab, doing dissection. What school does that? I have friends back home that don't even have an anatomy lab. They don't have a STEM center. So that was crazy to me. I was like, we have everything to prepare us to become in a crazy condition. So.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for answering that question. So the topic of the organ-based system curriculum came up, and if you can just comment on your experience with this organ-based system curriculum in terms of learning, and then perhaps Dr. Drummel-Smith, if you can talk a little bit about how it prepares students to become successful physicians.
I actually really loved going through the module-based systems because whenever you go through a module, you learn everything about that system. For example, since I'm in 4th and she's in 2nd, we're both doing cardiology and respiratory modules. So we're learning in 2nd semester, you learn about the physiology of it, you learn how the body works, how it responds, the cardiovascular system. I'm now learning about the pathology behind it, what diseases affect the cardiology system, how the body reacts to it. So I just love how everything's ingrained to how that one system, and they also work at respiratory how both of those go together. So I think I learned the best that way, learning everything about cardio and rest. That really helps me. So.
Yeah, from the teaching standpoint, we're trying to teach students to deal with a patient who comes in with a breathing problem or a heart rhythm problem. They don't have a biochem problem or a genetics problem. So learning it in terms of disciplines, and then basically saying, okay, student, go figure out how to turn this into the real thing you're going to see in the clinic, just doesn't make as much sense as learning it the way you're going to actually see it in a person.
I would agree with everything that's been said so far. I just did my first block, so cardio and rest. Definitely incorporate the both of it. So, for example, you have a question that sounds okay. You have respiratory problems going on, like on the cardio side, and vice versa. But personally, that's how I learn best. I like the fact that we focus on one thing, and then you see all about it, see how everything works. It's not just okay. Let me give you a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit. It's okay. I'm focusing on this. And here's what you need to know. You learn it really well. I feel like I've learned it really well doing it this way.
Okay, excellent. Can you guys talk about your experience with the simulation lab and how that helps to supplement your learning and perhaps to improve your clinical skills?
Oh, I was really excited because I love simulation lab. We do one in 2nd semester, another one in 3rd, and then in 4th, I think we have about 3 or 4 of them. I think it's really cool is because, you're sitting in class all day, you're just learning at your home, and you actually get to be in like a hospital setting, you actually get to, act like a doctor, you get to learn how to actually look at an acute situation with a patient, what to do, what to look for, how to go through a procedure, and how to figure out what to do with the patient. So for me, it kind of felt like I was playing doctor in a way, and you actually get to take what you're learning and actually apply it to a patient and interpret what's going on. So it was exciting for me.
I did not get to have a simulation yet, but we did work on Harvey. Harvey is basically our mannequin for heart sounds. Since we're doing cardio, we went over different murmurs, different sounds that you would hear, like a pathological stuff. And that was so much fun. I loved it. You learn about it, and it's one thing reading it and telling you, but then you go in and you actually into the different sounds. So I love that thing. It really makes you into a clinical setting, and
And you also get to work with your classmates too.
Right.
It's like a team effort, and you feel like you're on a team. And I kind of think about in the hospital, you're going to be working with a team of people. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay, awesome. A lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of parents, family want to know about safety and security on the island. Can you guys talk a little bit about that from your experience? Do you guys feel safe in Dominica?
Sure. Personally, I feel safe. I think Ross really we have this shuttle that's given by Ross. So basically anywhere you live, you can go from any building, from student center, from all the study places. They come and pick you up every half hour, and they bring you home, right? And I think it runs from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. or something in the lines of that. So definitely, if you're afraid or whatever, they can definitely drive you home, and there's no problem. Personally, I have not taken the shuttle once, and I've been here. It's my second semester. I've walked my first semester every time. Even now, I walk, and I have never had an issue. I don't feel like I'm not scared or anything. If it's really, really late, like if I'm studying until like really late, then usually I'll be just with a friend, and we just like walk home together, and there's no problem there either.
Yeah, and I feel like with the shuttle, I also like it is because they drop you off right in front of your apartment, at least, right at your door. So I feel really good about that. And also, I feel like the community that we're in is just such a small town.
Yeah.
I'm from Houston, and it's a big city. So you go here, it's a small town. Everybody knows each other. Because we're students, it's pretty much you're just living in the midst of students, so everybody knows each other. So I feel like it's just a small knit community, to where there's not really a lot going on in general. But other than that, I feel safe. I mean, there's security people that go around a lot. I constantly see them going around. But I mean, I don't know, I feel good.
Yeah. And, so I have 2 young children here. My family's here, and it's almost like a small town, or like if you imagine like the 50s kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I can let them go walk down the street with their friends to walk back to their friend's house, and that's totally fine. There's no concern about that. It's like you sort of wish things would be. There's very little crime overall here. What there is tends to be, petty stuff. Like, nothing's too scary or violent or anything like that.
I feel safer here compared to Houston, actually.
Yeah,
I agree. I feel safer here compared to Houston. I know nothing's going to go wrong.
Yeah, and I think like the community members here really do look out for us students. And they're very proud of their country, and they should be. And it shows that they'll warn you, oh, that guy, don't talk to him or whatever. Yeah. And I had, when we first moved here, we were at the market, and someone was panhandling, and a woman came up, and she basically told them off.
Oh.
She was protecting us. She could tell we were new, and it was fun. It was great, and we made a friend that day. So it was kind of nice. Yeah.
Great. Sounds like there's a lot of support all around to make that transition a lot easier for students and for families as well. Can you guys talk a little bit about some of the extracurricular activities that you're involved in on campus or off campus?
Well, when I first got here, another reason why I wanted to come to Ross is because involved with underprivileged communities. So whenever I heard that they had this Olivia Mission project, I was pretty much sold on it. So that's what I did my first semester. And what's is they're actually completely self-funded, and they actually make routine trips to the Colorado Territory. And they actually built the clinic completely out of donations. You actually get to go there, and you get to do pretty much be a doctor the whole entire way through. You get to do the patient interview, you get to do your physical exam. You actually have one of the faculty members there, an actual doctor there that actually you get to do an oral case with. You got to talk about differentials. So you get to do everything through with the natives in the community. So that's one of my favorite clubs. I'm also in AMSA. I don't want to talk too much about that, but and I'm also an ambassador too. So I talk to people that are coming to the island, and they want to know what to bring, what classes they should take, any questions that they have. So yeah, those are my 2 big things I do.
Personally, I'm involved in a lot of things because I like touching a little bit of everything. So I'm also an ambassador. So I think that's one important thing. I like having an ambassador because you have questions, you come here, not sure about something. You just have an ambassador and they're there. So that's one of the things I'm doing. I joined Salivia, but I'm only a member as of now, so it's just like participating in clinics and stuff like that. My major one would be surgery club. I'm actually a junior clinic coordinator, so basically we go to clinics, we prepare everything, and it's kind of the same thing where I was there first semester, I went to a clinic first semester, was only a member then, but you go and, you're studying all day and everything, and then you go to the clinic and you do the entire patient interview. It makes you feel like, you're actually playing Yeah, you know, it's like, okay, I have a patient in front of me. I'm asking them everything to figure out what they have, you know, what's wrong, what's going on. So that was really nice. I was rep for the Canadian Society also, and I'm also I'm doing lead for Suturing Lab, the skills for the Practical Skills Organization.
Okay, last question for you guys. What's your favorite part about the island?
Oh, that's a hard one.
The best for last.
Okay, the sunset.
Yeah. I don't know.
I would say as far, yeah, definitely the scenery. I mean, I remember like when I went on a tour and there was something that this guy said and I think it's true. It's selfie for days. You can go anywhere and you can take the most beautiful photos that you want. So my Facebook is just filled with the beaches, selfies, like everything. So I think that.
Personally, the one thing that I really liked about the island is I feel everyone is so friendly. It's a community, you know. It's not like everyone for themselves. I talk to so many of the locals here. Like they're like, hey, where are you? You know, so I like that a lot. I absolutely love the sunsets. That's the one thing. They're beautiful. So the scenery is nice. I've also done the tours. The island is beautiful. It's something to enjoy while you're here. I think that's one of my favorite things that's not school related, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's simplicity and focus, and you're not wasting time in traffic and frustration. You know, you need something, you pop into the store, you get it, you get out.
Yeah.
It doesn't take forever to park. You know. So that's something. Just lifestyle, from my perspective, is it's different, and it does take an adjustment. But once you adjust, you're like, I don't want to go back. Yeah, you want to go back.
Yeah,
things
so
to
many
do.
times, so it's time to go back home.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap up here, but we'd definitely like to thank you guys, Martina, Dr. Dromo-Smith, and Natalie for being with us this afternoon and then spending your time with us. I know that the viewers on Facebook, of course, really appreciate all the information that you have provided. We're going to continue on, of course, with our information seminar here in Toronto as well. So thanks again for joining us, and for all the people who are watching on Facebook. You can continue the conversation. Please send your questions, your inquiries to admissions@rossu.edu, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much.